is the Hollywood Chronicles with Frank McKay. Tune in each week for exclusive interviews with your favorite celebrities.
Frank McKay here. So much more importantly, the legendary, the great Alan Alda is with us today. And I think 250 episodes they just passed on Clear+Vivid with Alan Alda. If you're not listening to this podcast, you are making a huge, huge mistake. Alan Alda, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for those nice words about Clear+Vivid. That's very nice of you.
Well, listen, it's terrific, and I've been following it for a while. How much different did it turn out than what you were initially planned to do?
I had no idea what it would be like, except that I had done a show about science on public television for about 11 years where I interviewed scientists. So I really was comfortable talking to people about their work. But what was wonderful about the podcast is because it focuses on the way we communicate with one another, the way we relate to one another, which I think is really an important question in our lives, more so every day. Because of that theme, I got to apply that to every conceivable kind of work or every conceivable kind of path we might take in life. I talked to great musicians like Yo-Yo Ma, Paul McCartney, actors like Tom Hanks. I talked to the guy who used to be the chief hostage negotiator for the FBI.
Wow.
And he had to use these communication techniques or he wouldn't be able to get the hostage freed. And sometimes it would take 2 years of talking and mainly respecting the person he was talking to, even though he was holding the hostage at gunpoint all that time.
Yeah.
And he said that those techniques he developed during the time he was negotiating for the release of hostages, he says those techniques can be very useful in a marriage. So I covered every aspect of our lives. So that was really fun. I didn't expect that to be so much fun.
Amazing. The guest list is unbelievable. We would expect nothing less than just some of these legends that you brought, but also fascinating, intelligent conversations. I love the podcast. Is there a pivotal moment for you, or was there a pivotal program episode for you where kind of everything clicked after that and just kind of took off? Do you have a moment like that?
I think there was a typical time in early episodes where I would get so excited about what somebody was saying, I'd break into their talk with a response, and it sounded like I was talking over them. I was really hoping to be free to be conversational, and that has happened a few times. It still happens once in a while, but I'm apologetic about it now because I don't want to give the impression to either the person I'm talking to or the audience that I'm controlling the conversation. I'm trying to have a genuine conversation where we both respond to one another. So that's a moment that I had that I can remember was a kind of a turning point for me. I hope it was a turning point. I hope I don't still do it all the time.
Listen, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. It's absolutely a great podcast. Clear+Vivid with Alan Alda, if you're just joining us, is the podcast, and over 250 episodes now, and they're just classic. Every one of them is a little masterpiece. I love them all. I can't say I heard them all, but Alan, when you come across someone, let's say like a Paul McCartney, are you thinking to yourself, and I know stylistically it's a conversation and you're just kind of going there and you have a theme for the show, but do you think to yourself, I wonder if there's a question I could ask him that he's never been asked before?
You know, I don't worry about that so much. The thing that I think is most useful to me is to find out something from him that I really want to know. For instance, I really wanted to know what he does to come up with these melodies that are so pungent, so memorable, some of the most beautiful melodies that I've ever heard. How does he do it? And we almost when he came into the room, the people who ran the studio were so excited to have him there. They put guitars and a piano in the room. And when he saw the instruments, his face fell and he said, what's all this? thinking that we were going to ask him to perform. And I thought, oh God, there goes the whole interview right now.
Yeah.
We've just lost contact with him. But I assured him that they were just overwhelmed to have him there and we weren't going to ask him to do anything. And we made contact right at the start, before we even said hello. As soon as the machine was turned on, he started showing me how he does warm-ups, warming up his voice. And so we were doing for a couple of minutes. And we got back into contact again. And then I asked him how he comes up with these melodies. And he said, I'll show. What I do is I play some oobly chords. Oobly chords. I never heard of such a thing. What's that? He says, I'll show you. There's a piano over there. I'll show you what I do. And he went over to the piano and started showing me how he writes a song. And it was just wonderful. And it all came from making contact in a silly way, in fact. But any way you can make that contact, the better it is, I find.
Just amazing. I mean, what a run! 250 shows, and it's fresh. I mean, I heard one not long ago with Judd Apatow. I just thought it was brilliant. I thought it was just wonderful and refreshing, and all of it is. Do you have one that stands out that you didn't expect much of? And that's not to diminish the guest, but you just kind of took lightly and it blew you away.
You know, it happens frequently, very often. We not only have guests who are illustrious, we have people you probably never heard of who have amazing stories. One comes to mind, there are many like this, but one comes to mind, Christian Picciolini, who had been a skinhead for years, regularly beating people up. And he was beating somebody up at one point and suddenly had a flash of recognition that this was a real person he was hurting. And he decided to get out of the movement. And then he has devoted the rest of his life to helping other people get out of the movement. And he makes contact with them, respects them, doesn't tell them they're wrong, lets them know that they're valuable people, and sometimes can work on somebody for 2 years. There was one guy he was working with for a couple of years. They were in a coffee shop, and he thought the time was right. He went to the phone booth. This guy was anti-Muslim, anti-Jewish, anti-anything that skinheads don't value. He went to the phone booth and looked up the nearest mosque, talked to the imam on the phone and said, I have somebody who's interested to know more about your religion. And the imam said, well, I only have a few minutes. I have to do a service. He said, we'll be right over. He goes back to the kid and he tells him, and he says, I'm not ready to do this. He says, look, come in with me. If you can't take it, after 5 minutes, I'll go out with you. I'll leave with you. They go in, the imam starts talking. He has somebody else do the service. They talk for hours. The kid became friends with the imam.
Wow.
And now helps him set up chairs and things for services and things like that, whatever they need to set up.
Wonderful. Wow. And
he did it through respect, not through arguing with him and telling him he was wrong.
Incredible. Alan Alda, I know people are waiting to talk to you. Real honor to talk to you, Alan. Congratulations on Clear and Vivid with Alan Alda, 250 wonderful episodes, and I look forward to the next 250. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much. It was really fun talking with you. I appreciate it.
Alan Alda, everyone, and Clear and Vivid with Alan Alda is the name of the podcast. What a career this man has had. New episodes of Clear and Vivid with Alan Alda available at Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast. And he's a 6-time Emmy Award-winning actor. He just surpassed 250 episode mark of Clear and Vivid podcast. Just tremendous. And he's won. I mean, God, I don't have his resume like right in front of me, but it's insane. Of course, you know him from MASH and the show that lasted way longer than the Korean War that it depicted, and he played Hawkeye Pierce, and I don't know how many Golden Globe Award he won, but 6 Emmy Awards. 6 Emmy Awards. It's ridiculous. I mean, just amazing. And by the way, he's 87 years old. He sounds just like he did 30 years ago. Also received the Screen Actors Guild Lifetime Achievement Award in 2019, right before the pandemic hit. But he is just a great actor, and he received 3 Tony Award nominations for his performance: The Apple Tree and Jake's Women, and Glenn Ross. But of course, everyone knows his acting and MASH, one of the legendary sitcoms of all time. Frank McKay signing off. Alan Alda has been our very special guest. We'll see you all next time.
You've been listening to the Hollywood Chronicles with Frank McKay. Tune in next week for more celebrity interviews with your favorite Hollywood stars.